Well, thanks very much, Tim. I guess it was November when we were here last, and I presented our project, and now we're here for an update, and I think it's a pretty good update. We really added a lot to the project by virtue of the results of our drilling in 2023. So just to recap the project for anyone that might be new to it, this photo that you can see is the spot in Alaska where we've discovered this deposit. And I can call it a deposit now. But we've formed Alaska Energy around this prospect just a year ago. So we've only been in business a short period of time, but I have a very long history with the project. My first career as a young geologist was with Inco, the big nickel mining company born out of Sudbury, Ontario, and they moved me all around, but they sent me to Alaska to explore this exact spot back in 1995, and it was just the most green conceptual target idea. The idea was that it looks like the rocks here might be similar to the Norilsk area of Russia, which is the largest accumulation of nickel on Earth, even bigger than the amazing deposits in Sudbury. And so I did 5 great years of work here in the late 90s with a team of bright geologists from Sudbury and some Alaska geologists, and well, we discovered nickel. But it wasn't the high-grade, rich, massive sulfides like in Sudbury or Norilsk. It was low-grade, disseminated sulfide. And it just wouldn't even have dawned on us at the time that it would be economic ore one day. But I did drill hundreds and hundreds of meters of disseminated nickel sulfide, and now it turns out it's a thick, long deposit of very evenly disseminated sulfides. And now we've done enough drilling to prove and say this is a really big deposit of nickel with copper, cobalt, platinum, palladium, chrome, and iron to go with it. And the main reason that we picked the ground up was I saw Canada Nickel getting great traction in the market 2-3 years ago. Mark spoke this morning. He's a very knowledgeable person, also who worked for Inco one time. And when I saw it, I came to the realization that these very large disseminated nickel deposits are the future of nickel mining. They are the next generation of nickel deposits to be mined. Terry Lynch gave a great talk today. He's got a high-grade nickel deposit. That's great, and I wish the companies like him will find more rich high-grade deposits, but they're so rare. It's so seldom in the world that you can find one. When you think about it, the last one of real significance was Voisey's Bay 30 years ago. And geologists have been looking hard this whole time. And so if the demand is increasing, and it is, the nickel's never been in greater demand. I think the forward projections are the same. There's no way we're going to be able to meet the demand without mining these types of deposits. And I liken it to when the mining industry migrated to mining porphyry copper deposits from high-grade veins out of necessity. But we realized we can actually make a lot of money from large, lower-grade, lower concentration deposits. So I won't spend too much time on the backdrop because I think everyone here understands it well. Nickel's main use has been and still is stainless steel. It's used for a huge variety of purposes, but now there's a new one in electrical vehicle batteries. And well, whether it's your phone or your laptop or your passenger car, and I'm sure in the coming decades we will electrify buses and trucks and farm equipment and have grid scale storage batteries that capture and hold renewably generated electricity. The demand will certainly be there for nickel. It's going to grow a lot. And I think the country that I've adopted, I live in Alaska, I'm an American citizen now, I think America's in real risk. It's a country that has made itself vulnerable by not encouraging a domestic mining industry very well. And it's given up metal supply chains all over the world. And so if we're going to generate a lot of our energy with electricity, that means metals, and the United States better get on the ball and encourage its own mining industry. And so I think having a large deposit of battery metals right on American soil is a good thing, and that our government will be very supportive of it. But so far on the demand, it looks like Indonesia is making up all the supply that's needed, and so the price is soft. Mark gave some very good points from Canada Nickel today on why he thinks, as a knowledgeable nickel market person, that won't hold, but we'll see. Regardless, we're just at the stage where we've really just discovered the deposit. So a mine realistically is 5-7 years away in a best case scenario. So a lot's going to happen with the nickel price in that period of time. We've got a good team. We know what we're doing. We've been actually together for quite a long time, exploring all over Alaska. Most of us live in Alaska and know the people, the politics, the prospectors, everything that there is to know about operating there, and we can do so very efficiently. And I have a very strong board, too. Corey, in particular, is a good technical person, but also previously Commissioner of Natural Resources at the state government level, so she knows the mine permitting process. Mark Begich, who I met 20 years ago when he was the mayor of Anchorage, who then went on to become one of our two senators representing the state in Washington, D.C., so he knows how to navigate through the permitting process. So as we start to move into that realm. Basics on the company, 89 million shares outstanding, market cap of around 43 million. The share price has been performing pretty well, a few ups and downs, but I think we're doing pretty well. Yeah, it's in a great spot. We don't have a lot of infrastructure in Alaska, but this project is right beside all of it. We're right on a paved highway. I can drive to the project about 6 hours from my house. The rail is not too far away, and power lines. So for a development scenario, it's pretty good. Just to zoom in a bit further, the Alaska Highway coming from Yukon Territory, Delta Junction, the closest town, and we're about 80 kilometers south of it. With two claim blocks, Canwell, where we have some very high-grade prospects, but the Eureka block, where we have this large disseminated nickel sulfide deposit. And so just to zoom in closer, there's the paved highway running by the Canwell project. And you'll see, let's talk briefly about permitting because it's important. And one of the main things that can trip companies up in Alaska is salmon. We have fantastic runs of salmon. They migrate way up the rivers into the headwaters. And if you're trying to build a mine right at the spawning areas, you're going to have some opposition. But fortunately, there's no salmon anywhere on our project, or for that matter, for probably 100 kilometers downstream. That's going to make life a lot easier on permitting. So we've done a year of work, but I also have all the data that's ever been generated on the project ever since I first set foot on it in 1995. 5 years of Inco work and another 12 years of work that was done by a company called Pure Nickel in joint venture with Itochu. And so that was probably $35 million worth of work. A lot of the basic geology and geophysics, but a lot of drilling too, and we were able to use it to really a good advantage. We drilled 8 holes last summer, But we were able to combine that with 37 historical holes. All the QA/QC was just fine on all those holes. And so it allowed us to calculate quite a large resource within just 1 year. And so what you're looking at in this picture, the gray outline is an economic pit shell at a 0.2% nickel equivalent cutoff grade. The resource was calculated by independent third-party Stantec, and the colors you see on the map represent the concentration of nickel in the ground. So the bright reds and pinks and yellows and oranges are the higher grade portions. And the other great thing that came out of the initial resource calculation, Tim, was that a lot of the holes were closely enough spaced that already we have almost half of the deposit into the indicated resource category. The other half is inferred. As the gentleman mentioned, I can't add inferred plus indicated, but it's easy to add it up, and I've done it there just in case. But yeah, it's 3.8 billion pounds of nickel in the indicated resource and 4.2 billion pounds in the inferred. So over 8 billion pounds of nickel documented in the ground right now at a grade of 0.29 or 0.27% respectively. And if you do a nickel equivalency calculation, that's over 10 billion pounds of nickel equivalent metal documented in the ground. Now, remember, this is independent of any kind of recoveries, just the total nickel documented in the ground. But that's a sizable deposit. The other good thing that came out is it's only a 1.5 to 1 strip ratio. Not bad. But you can imagine that in the early years, we would only be mining that higher grade portion. And that's years of mining right there. And the strip ratio on that would be 0 to 1. We'd be all in ore. So I think having that higher grade core zone is going to make a big difference to the economics. We haven't started economics yet. We'll wait till we get our recovery numbers, our initial recovery numbers, and the next round of drilling, and then we'll start to go into the PEA. So I'm going to show you a cross section right through the middle, and the colored zone in the middle there is the deposit. You can see it dips very nicely at 45 degrees from the surface, from the horizontal. And you can see the surface of the earth in this cross-section. The deposit comes right to surface. The darker red indicates the higher grade portion, core zone of the deposit. It comes right to surface. And so that economic pit shell that you see dashed in there, that's ultimately a pit that's on the order of 600 meters deep. But you can imagine that in the first years of mining, we'd only be right at the surface, 100 or 200 meter deep pit that might be several kilometers long, but it will all be in ore, 0 to 1 strip ratio. Yeah, this is what the stuff looks like. It's a dark, fine-grained rock with sulfides disseminated throughout it, rather uniformly. It is a bit higher concentration in the core, but it goes for kilometers. Every time we drill through it, this is what it looks like. Very homogeneous, continuous deposit. We've delineated the deposit 4 kilometers long, but we know it could be up to 12 kilometers. We've traced it intermittently by drill holes and surface sampling and geophysical surveys. I was interested to hear Mark Selby talk this morning about their exploration success. Like just about every drill hole is hitting what they expect based on geophysical information. But I think it's the same is true for us. Every time we drill into this specific magmatic layer, we get almost the same result. Several hundred meters of rock that looks like this and that assays around 0.3 to 0.35% nickel equivalent metal. So you can imagine, though, that the recovery rates of the metals is a key factor. And we're doing all that initial work right now. We'll publish the first of it in May. But we've done some in the past, and historically some has been done. And it was fairly encouraging in that a lot of the nickel, in this case, somewhere between 65 and 90% is in the form of pentlandite, the common nickel sulfide that's readily recovered by standard milling methods. So we're hopeful that our recovery rates will be pretty solid, but we'll see when we get the first results in May. After that, it's a chemistry experiment over years to fine-tune that and get it as best optimized as best we can. So our plan going forward is pretty simple here. The deposit is shown as the gray outline. The gray is shading is the part of the deposit that we know at the inferred category level. Darker blue color is the higher confidence level indicated resource. And I've got ellipses marked on here that shows the general location of the higher grade core. That's really going to be the focus of this year's exploration drilling. It looks like that extends off to the southeast. So we'll trace it about 1 kilometer off to the southeast. Pretty confident that we're going to hit it. There's a couple of historic holes that tells us that mineralized layer continues, and we've got some surface samples that tell us that high-grade core is there. So we should be able to add significantly to the deposit. By the time we're done this year, it'll be over 5 kilometers in length, and we'll have a really good handle on that higher-grade core and move it all up into the measured and indicated category. And once we do that, we're going to be in a deposit that's right up there with Canada Nickel's Crawford deposit in terms of size, and slightly higher grade. And Canada Nickel's done a great job of blazing a trail for us and showing the steps that need to come next. But they've done a great job securing strategic partners. First with Anglo American coming in, and then more recently Samsung on a great offtake agreement, and Agnico Eagle coming in on the project. So I would expect that we will have strategic investors like that approaching us, and that we're going to catch up to Canada Nickel. And I hope that our market cap will also catch up. Canada Nickel's around 240 million now. We're at 33, so lots of room to move up as we catch up with this deposit on American soil. Yep, and so we know that we can lay out this very large disseminated nickel deposit, but as geologists will always tell you, grade is king. And we've got some great indications of really high-grade mineralization sticking right out of the ground on that Canwell block. And last year we did all the work necessary to get ready to drill. We did a lot of geophysical surveys, mapping, so that we've got a good handle on what's going on there. We've developed some great geophysical, geochemical targets that we're going to drill in 2024. My team first discovered this Odie prospect back in 97 or 98. High-grade nickel at surface. We drilled a short little hole underneath the showing, and we hit nickel. But now that I've got this modern geophysical survey in hand, I can't wait for us to drill holes through those bright red, pink zones there, because that's a conductor. That's telling us there's metal in the ground. There's a coincident magnetic high right underneath nickel sticking out of the ground at surface. So it's a great target, and we'll drill it this summer. If we hit a good intersection of massive high-grade sulfides, then we're really off to the races. All right, so everything's on schedule. In fact, this doesn't happen often, but we were able to deliver the resource calculation ahead of time. We'll announce our metallurgical work in May. We'll start drilling again in June, and by the end of the year, we'll have a deposit about the same size as Canada Nichols Crawford, and we'll start our PEA.
Great.
Thank you, Tim.
Great. Thank you very much, Greg.